You know what's funny? I can barely remember what happened in most of my matches last week. Doesn't matter if it was Call of Duty, Apex, Valorant, whatever. I got kills, I died, maybe I won, maybe I lost. And honestly, most of it's already gone. But somehow, I can remember Halo matches from years ago. Actual matches, specific moments, specific players, specific memories. I remember getting destroyed by somebody so badly that I spent the next 3 games trying to beat them. I remember custom games that lasted until 2 in the morning. I remember insane comeback wins. I remember ridiculous raw hog moments. I remember the feeling of hearing Slayer at the beginning of a match and immediately getting excited. And that's weird, right? Because games today have bigger budgets, better graphics, more content, more progression systems, more rewards, more everything. Yet somehow, Halo feels more memorable. And I don't think that's nostalgia. I think Halo understood something about multiplayer games that a lot of modern shooters forgot. Halo wasn't trying to constantly entertain you, it was trying to create moments. And there's a huge difference between those two things. Modern FPS games are obsessed with speed, faster movement, faster kills, faster progression, faster rewards. Everything is designed to keep your brain constantly stimulated. And don't get me wrong, that's not necessarily bad. Fast games can be incredibly fun. But I think something gets lost when everything becomes instant. Because when kills happen instantly, they stop feeling important. Think about it. If every fight lasts half a second, how much room is there for a story to happen? How much more room is there for adaptation? How much room is there for somebody to outplay another player? Halo understood that tension matters. Halo understood that anticipation matters. Halo understood that a fight becomes memorable when players have enough time to make decisions. That's why Halo gunfights feel different. Not because they're longer, because they're meaningful. One of the best descriptions I've ever heard about Halo combat is that Halo feels like conversations. And honestly, that's exactly what they are. Somebody shoots you, you react, they strafe, you adjust, they throw a grenade, you reposition. The fight evolves. It's not just about who clicked first, it's about who adapted better. That's why getting a kill in Halo feels so satisfying, because you usually earned it. You had to make decisions, you had to think, you had to execute. Halo rewards players during the fight. Most shooters reward players before the fight even starts. That's a massive difference. Here's something I don't think people talk about enough. Halo trusted players. It trusted players to make their own fun. It trusted players to create their own moments. It trusted players to learn, to improve, to experiment, to fail. Modern games often feel terrified that players might get bored, so they constantly throwing something at you. Challenges, rewards, notifications, battle pass progress, daily objectives, limited time events. Halo didn't need all that because the sandbox itself was entertaining. A rocket launcher wasn't fun because of a challenge. It was fun because it was a rocket launcher. A warhog wasn't fun because you got XP. It was fun because launching your friend off a cliff was hilarious. The gameplay itself carried the experience. Honestly, I think this is the biggest thing modern games lost, the social side. Halo felt social in a way that's hard to explain. You stayed in lobbies, you recognized names, you developed rivalries, you made friends, you made enemies. Sometimes you spent an entire evening playing with complete strangers. And by the end of the night, they didn't feel like strangers anymore. Custom games became communities, Forge became creative. Halo wasn't just a game, it was a place people hung out. And I think that's why Halo memories stick around for so long. Because most of the memories weren't about winning, they were about people. You know what I think is really interesting? Modern games have become incredibly good at keeping people engaged. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Engagement matters. Games want people playing. Developers want healthy player counts. That's normal. But sometimes I wonder if we accidentally confuse engagement with enjoyment, because they're not the same thing. Just because something keeps your attention doesn't mean it's memorable. Think about social media. You can scroll for an hour and barely remember anything you watched. It kept your attention, but did it leave an impact? Not really. And sometimes modern multiplayer games feel similar. You're constantly doing something, unlocking something, progressing something, chasing something. But a week later, what do you actually remember? That's where Halo feels different to me. Halo wasn't obsessed with keeping me engaged every second. It was obsessed with creating situations where memorable things could happen. And those are two completely different design philosophies. One focused on retention, the other focused on experience. Halo wasn't perfect at it, but when Halo was at its best, it created moments that people talk about for years. I've asked myself this a lot recently. Why do I keep coming back to Halo? Especially when there are newer games, bigger games, more popular games, games with more content. And honestly, I think it's because Halo respects my time differently. When I have a good Halo match, I remember it. When I pull off a crazy play, it feels earned. When I lose, most of the time I know why, the game feels honest. Halo doesn't always feel fair, but it usually feels honest. And that's a really important difference. Because when I improve in Halo, I actually feel myself improving. I don't feel like I'm chasing a battle pass. I don't feel like I'm checking boxes. I feel like I'm becoming a better player. And maybe that's why so many people still care about Halo, even when it's not the biggest game anymore. This might sound strange, but I think Halo benefited from having quiet moments. Modern games hate silence. Everything has to be happening all the time. But Halo wasn't afraid to slow down. The menus, the music, the map intros, the moments between fights, the countdown before a match started, these moments gave everything else more weight. Halo understood that contrast creates emotion. If everything is exciting, nothing feels exciting. But if you have moments of calm, the exciting moments hit harder. And honestly, I think that's why people still talk about Halo differently. Halo wasn't perfect, it never was. But Halo understood something that many modern games seem to struggle with. Memorable experiences aren't created by constantly rewarding players. They're created by giving players opportunities to create their own stories. That's what Halo did. Halo gave us stories. Stories about ridiculous wins. Stories about impossible comebacks. Stories about friendships. Stories about rivalries. Stories about moments that felt uniquely ours. Maybe that's why I keep coming back. Not because Halo is perfect. Not because it's the newest game. Not because of nostalgia. But because Halo still gives me something that a lot of modern shooters don't. Memories. And honestly, I think that's what made Halo special in the first place.